didn't even recognize you. What happened? I'm like, well, you know, it's part of my disguise. I think everybody that has come up before you this morning has had a story you wanted to hear. And honestly, I have a story that I think you want to hear. And it's all around box score. And I'll tell you that I tossed and turned all night. I have struggled with how I'm going to talk about this story one more time. You know, Bob talked about we have 1,400 controllers in the field. I will tell you that about 1,100 of those controllers have my fingerprints on them. I have been very involved in the controllers. You know, we joke about this every year. The controllers are my children. The father of the controller. I am passionate, I'm involved, I'm invested in those devices. I think they are very important to you, and I try to respect how important those are to you. And you know, it's important that we all be involved in that. We've come into a problem, and Dave and I have had some conversations about this, and the issue is that Chronotrek has grown, and I can't be hands-on on everything like I used to be, like I really want to be. And one of the ways that that is manifested, that inability to be so hands-on, is I can't deliver the things that I really wanted to deliver. There was a product, BoxScore 2.0, that I've talked about, and honestly, it's a fabulous product, and I think it was something that you really want. But there was a problem with BoxScore 2.0, and honestly, it's good, and I have it. I have a BoxScore 2.0. You didn't miss it. I had timers say, did I miss 2.0? Did I? No, you didn't miss 2.0. There is a 2.0, and it mostly works. But mostly isn't good enough. Your business depends on these products. We understand that. And because it's important, it has to be right. And I couldn't make BoxScore 2.0 right. Dave and I, we had some discussions. He says, John, what is it going to take? What are you going to do? And I'm like, I'm working on it. I'm working as hard as I can. He's like, is that going to get it done? I'm like, no, I don't think so. There are too many things I'm working on. It's like, well, can you bring in somebody to help? And I'm like, well, you know, we'd have to hire somebody. We'd have to find a consultant. He's like, you can do that. You have permission to bring in resources. Hire the people you need. Get them in here. Let's get this done. Is it important, John? Yes, then let's make it happen. So we went out and hired probably one of the premier CE developers. We'll introduce him in a minute, but we have hired a consultant. And the way we started this is like, I've got BoxScore 2.0. It's 95% there. Chris, come and take a look. Tell me, where's the problem? Let's fix this. Let's get this out there. And he's going through it, and I was like, well, I'm not sure that's the way I do it, but okay. Interesting. John, I'm not seeing this killer bug in here. Yes, it happens. It's a problem, but you know, it's not obvious where the problem is. He said, you know, what we need to do is we need to start going back and replacing this a piece at a time. Let's take a real systematic approach to that. And he said, and you know, while we're in here, you know, John, this application looks like it was designed by an engineer. All these screens look like they were designed by an engineer. I said, thank you. And he said, well, you know, that's not necessarily a good thing. So he said, you know, while we're in here, while we're replacing some of these things, you know, this is a great opportunity. And I said, you know, there have been comments over the years that, you know, perhaps we could improve some things, we could restructure some things, we could help with that. You know, I think BoxScore has traditionally been designed by an engineer. It's very, I don't know, antiseptic. It's very clean. It's very sharp and precise. And it's not, you know, I think people approach BoxScore and it's like, well, you know, I'm not an expert. I don't have a PhD. How do I, you know, I'm a little worried. And I think, you know, with the right organization, with the right presentation, it can be friendlier. Not everybody who uses BoxScore, not everybody that you send to that 10K split is an expert. I think properly designing BoxScore, we can make it more friendly to the user. I think we can make it more accessible, easier to use. So we started there, and you know, bit by bit, we got to the point where, you know, BoxScore has evolved over the years. It's an application that's 4 years old. You know, if we went back and just started from scratch, you know, I think that we could do this and we could build a platform that's going to take us another 4 years into the future. But you know, this was good, but let's set this aside and let's start on a new BoxScore. And that's what happened. BoxScore 2.0, you're never going to see. I've got it over here. I think about it every once in a while. It's like, if only. But we have BoxScore 3.0. And BoxScore 3.0, I have a whole team working on 3.0 now. This is not a John Kelsey project. This is not limited by what I can do. No force of will could get BoxScore 2.0 across the finish line. We have a team. We've hired a team. We've got developers, we've got project managers, we've got a QC team, we've got people documenting. We have a team on this now. And with that team, I am confident that we are going to give you BoxScore 3.0 very, very soon. I'll show you a timeline in a minute, and I am comfortable. I'm not just going to say, well, there's a beta in March and a release in April, and not tell you the year. On my charts, every one of those charts now has a year on it. And I will cut ahead and say, in March, I am convinced we will be giving you BoxScore 3.0 beta. In April, we will deliver BoxScore 3.0 production. We have a whole team. The team is signed up. The team is comfortable. I will have a session where I talk about BoxScore 3.0. I actually have 2 sessions. I will let you see it. I'll talk about it, talk about the cool stuff it does. We also have a lab where BoxScore 3.0 is in the lab. You can go touch and play with BoxScore 3.0. I encourage you to do that. It is different than 2.0. I think it's not so different that you won't be able to find your way through. I think there are a lot of similarities, but there are some changes, and I think there are some very good changes. But maybe you don't think everything's better. If now is an opportunity for you as you're playing with that to say, wait a minute, I don't understand how this relates over there, how do I do what I used to do? Now is a great opportunity to do that. Now, I'll warn you at this point that BoxScore 3.0 is not complete. There are pieces, and I don't think they're significant pieces, but there are pieces that aren't in that demo in the lab. We're working on those, we're working hard. You know, I'm giving myself another 4 or 6 weeks to get those done and tested, but they're not there, but I don't think they're significant parts. I think you get enough of the BoxScore 3.0 in the lab to get a real good sense of what it is. But I'll also tell you that, you know, the BoxScore that's in the lab also hasn't been fully tested. Part of what's new in BoxScore 3.0 is the testability and the maintainability. We have significantly improved that in the BoxScore 3.0 over 2.0. So, you know, the product you see in the lab is immature, but it is going to mature, and it's going to mature very well and very quickly. So I encourage everybody to come to the BoxScore 3.0 session, and I encourage you to try it in the lab, and then let me know what you think. Here is a nifty timeline of timing software products. I show you this. I've got months, I've got dates. You will see as you look through this, there are alpha releases, there are beta releases, we've got real production releases. This isn't carved in stone, but the development team, the QC team, all of us believe that this is very achievable. And you know, right now in April, BoxScore 3.0 is going to be available for you to hit the field. You know, we'll talk about how to introduce BoxScore 3.0. You know, I think originally when it comes out, you'll be able to run it in parallel with your existing systems until you have confidence in it. You know, we've set this up so that you'll be able to use the new system in parallel with the old system until you're confident that the features are compelling enough, you believe the product is mature enough that you can move over and transition. So we've designed this so that you will feel good about the product you use and the features that you get. So this is the timeline. We have a lot of confidence in this timeline. I want to talk a little bit about some of the other products. We've talked about flashpoints a lot. You'll go to seminar sessions about those. I encourage you to go to those. the timers that have flashpoints, that have had access to the prototype flashpoints, you know, for the most part, they'll just say they're magical. They do amazing things. They do great things. They give you the ability to time different types of races that you never would have considered before. So, you know, you timers are always very creative, often scarily creative in the things that you do. And you know, I would have never thought to time ice skating trials. Somebody was a minor league team ice skating trials, and they used systems to do that. I never would have thought of timing people on ice, but you can do that. There are lots of creative ways, and I think flashpoints give you tools to do new kinds of races. I think they're fabulous tools for the races you do today, and I think they're good for races tomorrow. Flashpoints are in full production. We have them. We've got lots of them in stock. I encourage you to order lots of flashpoints, spare flashpoints. So they're good. We have them. Please order them. Single tags. Single tags go into full production. Actually, they're coming off the presses this week. We're going through a bunch of QC testing February, some test races February. March 1, we believe anybody who wants them can have them. So we think they're fabulous things. They're going to be ready for production. They're all good. Next thing, Dan touched a little bit on the quality assurance program. I want to tell you that every tag you use today, every tag you have ever used, every Chronotrack tag has been tested, has been verified. All of them have gone through a QC process, and they were tested to the best that the technology provided at the time. With the new tags going forward, and honestly even with the new D tags, the new dual bib tags, the new single bib tags, everything that uses a new Monza 5 chip, the new chip brings technology that lets us check all of these tags in a far-field environment. That's the environment that you use them in. Up until now, everything's been checked in the near field. It was best that technology provided. We now have the capability of checking these tags in the environment much closer to the way that you're using them. We are also implementing a process, and you know, I'm talking about this QC process, but really, this is the only time you're ever going to hear about it. This is a silent initiative Chronotrack is entering because we think we need to invest in the tools, and we need to give you the confidence that everything is the best it can be. And this is a silent initiative, only time I'm going to talk about it. But one of the things we're doing is we are taking samples from every production lot as our suppliers generate and manufacture these parts. And we're taking those samples and we're going to grade and qualify every lot that our suppliers produce. And any lot that we have any questions about, it's like, that's good, that's fine, but somebody else can use those. Those aren't good enough tags to be Chronotrack. And we will say, not today, not those. So we are initiating this quality process. We're taking it up a notch. We're going to make sure that everything we produce for you is as good as it can be. Back to the hardware products. Chronosyncs, Dan talked about Chronosyncs. We believe that very, very shortly we will have those in production. They are at the final stages of the R&D process. I think we have demonstrated all the functionality. We now need to package them for production. We need to make sure that we can produce those in the proper quantities, you know, button up all the pricing details, figure out, you know, stock and inventory and all those good things, but we are really, really close. So at this point, all the science is almost done, and we're just to the point of figuring out how to make enough of them. So that product is really close. And then the next generation controller. Dan mentioned that we're going to have somebody here to talk about next generation controller. The controllers you have, the Pro controllers, were designed at the very beginning of Chronotrack. I think overall we did a good job. We have updated those controllers as technology has evolved. They're lighter controllers, they're, you know, more energy efficient controllers. We want to start talking about what the next generation controller is going to look like. What are your requirements? We introduced the mini-track a couple years ago, and we thought that was really good, and I think it was a significant improvement over the professional series. But now let's talk about the next generation. And you know, I'll just start and say it's really easy to say we want a lighter controller, we want a smaller controller. But I would like you to put some thought into that and figure out what else you want. You want a controller that maybe you can maintain more easily. You want a controller where you can replace the battery similar to the mini-track. You want a controller that can support multiple types of cellular communication. You know, think about the requirements. Anything that annoys you about the little one, about the current controllers. You know, there are things that, you know, they annoy you, but you can live with. Well, if you don't ever tell us that they annoy you, they will always annoy you because we don't know to fix it. You know, you can work around it, you can live with it, that's great. But tell me about it. We will make it go away if we can. There are lots of things, but you need to communicate with us. And I'll tell you that it is always exciting for the team to come to these conferences. I'm going to introduce my developers in just a second, and then we'll introduce the technical support team. But these developers, in particular, beg to come to this conference. You know, you will see the developers, and they'll be in the lab. You know, Eric will actually do a session, but they dearly want to meet the users. They want to know how you use the products that they develop. They want to know, you know, what are the issues? What are the problems? What can be better? You know, do you like pretty colors? What details? They want to know. So, you know, please grab a developer, bend their ear. You know, tell them what you like, tell them what you don't like, share stories. You know, I just love going to cocktail hour and hearing about all these stories about, you know, the nightmares and, you know, it was divine intervention that saved that race. I don't know how that happened. You know, everybody has a story here. And, you know, almost nobody has ever had a perfect race. So, you know, the developers love to hear that information. And, you know, sometimes one little thing you mention is like, I can fix that. I can help that. We can work with that. You have information that they dearly want, so please talk with them, share with them. I'm going to start and say, Eric. Everybody, Eric Lovins, he does a lot of our print D-tag, tag checker, a lot of our software development on the printer side. So the RFID block, lots of pieces there. Does an excellent job. And you've got a session on printer, right? Wednesday. And you'll be in the lab for all kinds of questions. So
24/7.
24/7. He is dedicated. Dedicated. Andrew Veneta is next. Andrew, everybody sat at the back of the room. Andrew does a lot of the development on the mini-track, and he does a lot of the RFID reader. You know, Dan does a lot of the science stuff and then hands it to Andrew and says, now make it work. So Andrew does an excellent job on that. You know, talk to him about how you use the mini-track, things that work, things that maybe could be better. You know, feel free to talk to Andrew and give him your stories. Next up, I want to talk about Mark Meadows. Mark, he's really taken over the reins of a lot of the stuff that Boss was doing for us in the past. So, Simple Client, CCS Lite, a lot of the CCS server. Mark is very involved in that. We're pulling everything together and we're making things good. And you may have seen we've got some alphas and some betas of a lot of the software products Mark's working together. So, once again, please talk to Mark and give him some history and some stories there. Chris Taki. Chris, where are you? Oh, over here. Chris is our... Excellent. You didn't get the memo about sitting in the back. Chris is my Windows CE expert. Were you in the audience to be a Windows CE programmer, and I know we're full of them out there, you would very likely have used the library that Chris has written. He is one of the top in his field, and I'm very excited to have him. And he is part of what gives me the confidence to say that Box Score 3.0 is coming out soon. Excellent resource. We're happy to have you, and we're going to use you a lot. Jeremy Dill, I list Jeremy. Jeremy is still involved with us. He's not here today, but he's still working for us, working on the timer portal, stream manager, bits and pieces there. So he's another person that's part of the team, and we work with him still very closely, and that's all good. That is the timing development team. We're all very close and working hard to give you a good product. Next up, I want to talk about the customer support team. And this is a little bit of a surprise to Ray, but I'm going to introduce Ray and then ask him to quickly introduce his team. But Ray is our manager of support and field operations, and I will let you introduce your team, Ray.
So I think everybody, for the most part, has talked to me at some point. If you call the support line, you likely catch our staff. So hopefully most of you have met several of us already. I'll go ahead and introduce my team here. So first on the list is Elliot Carpenter. Elliot, if you'll stand up back there, please. Elliot, I believe you got these asterisks noted for a reason. I'll go ahead and mention that as well. So a couple of our support guys are getting ready to make some transitions into other fields and areas. Elliot actually has an electrical engineering background. He's getting ready to switch over to Dan's team here in the coming months to do R&D development, or research and development, sorry. And so he's getting ready to make that transition. Next on the list is Josh McWilliams. And Josh is also one of those other asterisks. He's getting ready to transition over to project management for the Chronotrack hardware and software side of the project management team there. Next we have Nick Wiegand. This is Nick's first year at the conference. He's also a relatively new face, so if you guys have not met him yet, make sure you introduce yourselves. You probably catch him on support line as well, or if you have call office. Lots of times he's been doing a lot of help with the Chronotrack Live side as well. Next we have Zane West. Everybody again is all hiding in the back, so Zane is another new hire this year. Been around just a little bit longer than Nick has been, and he's really our in-house networking guru. So a lot of times you have questions about networking, we're shifting those in that direction to Zane. So moving on to registration support. Did you use the?
I do not have the pictures.
Okay, so registration support team. This year we've kind of hired a second tier of support. A lot of times if you guys email us questions, sometimes the technical support team will push those off to the registration support team as well. It's not that we don't want to help you guys, it's just that's their forte, that's what they deal with day in and day out. They're there to help you guys, deal with race directors and getting registration forms the way they're supposed to be set up. Also some training that they'll do there and demos and some help out in that area as well. So that team is not here this for the next few days. That includes Brandon Campbell, Kendall Elpers, and Courtney Adler. And then the next one, we recently have a new hire as well. His name's Chris McWilliams. He's getting ready to start. And his primary focus is going to be on basically controller repair and controller prep for new hardware. One of the things we currently do is our technical support team, we're the ones that manage all the repairs. So to some extent, we spend some chunk of time in the lab fixing controllers every week. And it's something that really is a full-time position, and we're making that transition and making that hire. So Chris will be the primary person there. So thanks, John.
Thank you, Ray. I want to share that we put a very high emphasis on our customer support. And we think it is very important that our support team be involved in all of our testing, in our support, in our maintenance. Honestly, we are stealing a couple of Ray's support team and moving them to other places in the company, and we think that this is an excellent idea. These people know you and know how you work and what some of your challenges are, and we are taking that knowledge and spreading it out in the company. The support team is an excellent place to grow people who know their customers, and we value that, and we are stealing people and making Ray's life harder, trying to find more quality people to fill those. But we think it is a good thing, and we hope that you do too. I think that that is everything I have for this presentation. I believe we're real close to our scheduled break. Somebody nod. Miles? Yes. So, break, and we should return
10:15. 10:15, please, back in here. There should be a coffee break right out those doors. Help yourself to that. Men's bathroom is straight forward. Women's is that way just a little bit. And back in here at 10:15, please.